there are three different main tax forms. There's the short forms and the long forms. The short forms are the 1040EZ and the 1040A. The 1040EZ is the shortest, followed by the 1040A. The 1040 is the long form because it's the 1040 and all the other supplemental forms that you need to fill out. Remember I told you there's a form for like everything? Every possible scenario is another tax form, so there's a lot of them. So like on that video we just watched where the lady was like, and our taxes are 4 pages long. That's short, 4 pages. That's little. That's like a 1040A can be 4 pages. That's no big deal. There are people who file taxes and their taxes are 20 and 30 pages long because of everything that they have to fill out, you know, so it can be really cumbersome. Okay, your dependents are people that you financially support and that you have a legally valid relationship and they are allowed to be claimed on your taxes. Okay, so your children, your spouse can be a dependent, it's kind of considered a dependent. An elderly parent can be claimed as a dependent. A disabled relative can be claimed as a dependent. If you are the legal guardian of a child, they can be claimed as a dependent. But there has to be legal guardianship there. You can't, if your cousin like drops their kids off at your house and then just leaves them there, you don't have legal guardianship. They're not your legal dependent. You cannot claim your pets, no matter how much money you spend on them. You cannot claim your boyfriend or your girlfriend. You cannot claim your roommate. You cannot claim some random person up the street. You cannot claim your fiance. The only way you can claim somebody that's you're not married to you in that way is if you have filed domestic partnership paperwork. So, you know, they're pretty particular about, like, so even if you have like a deadbeat roommate that's not a real roommate because they don't pay any of their bills, you cannot claim them on your taxes. Okay. An exemption is a set amount of money that you get to deduct from your income for each person. I said for each of your dependents, but it's your dependents and yourself. Okay, so if you have, for example, let's say you and your wife and your 3 kids. There's 5 of you, so you get to claim 5 exemptions. If it's just you, you only get 1 exemption. If it's you and your kid, you get 2. So it's 1 exemption per person that you're putting on your taxes. Now, as far as your kids go, technically speaking, you're supposed to stop claiming your children after they turn 18, technically. Now, you can still claim them up to 26 under various conditions. You know, if they are still living at home, obviously, and they're not supporting themselves, you can claim them. If they're off in college and they're a full-time student, you can still claim them even if they're not living at your house, but they're off, you know, living at the college campus or whatever. But that can also kind of have a negative effect because if your parents are claiming you and you're working, you have to file income taxes as well, but you file as somebody else's dependent, which means you pay more taxes. So it can go either way. Now the 1040EZ is the shortest form and it's the easiest to fill out, and unless you have a kid, I recommend you use this one as long as you can. It's the least likely for anything to go wrong. You cannot claim it if you have a dependent. You can't use it. Now you can use it if you're single, and you can use it if you're married filing jointly. You cannot use it if you're filing as head of household, obviously, because head of household means you have dependents. And you cannot file married filing separately. You have to be together on the same form if you're using the EZ. So you can't have dependents. Your income has to be less than $100,000. I imagine if you're up in the $100,000 range, you're probably not using the easy anymore anyway. Yep. Tax table only goes up to $999,999. After that, you have to use the formulas, and this form doesn't allow for that. That's where the line is. So, your income has to be less than $100,000. You can't claim any adjustments. So you have your exemption. That's built in. That's fine. You can have the exemption, but you can't have any deductions. So no medical bills. No. They were saying you can deduct your mortgage interest, and there's all kinds of stuff you can't have any of those, and you can't have any tax credit except for the earned income credit. So there are various tax credits. If you're in college, you get like the HOPE tax credit or the lifelong learning tax credit, and there's different tax credits for all kinds of different scenarios. You can't claim any of those. And then you don't have any special circumstances, okay? So household employment taxes occur if you owe money for somebody that you employed to work in your home. So a maid or a gardener or something that like works in your home, you have to pay taxes on that. So you can't file the easy if you have that situation. You have to be under 65. If you're over 65 or 65 or over, you can't use the easy anymore. Yes, you cannot be blind. If you are blind, you are not allowed to use the 1040 easy. Yeah, because there's a special thing about taxes if you're blind. We're not going to get into that. Well, somebody could fill it out for you. But there is a special tax form because you get a different tax rate and stuff if you're blind. There's like a special tax thing if you're blind. We're not going to go into all that because you guys are not blind. So, so you can't use this form. You can't have unusual income sources. So you can have income from wages and tips, and you can have gotten a scholarship or a grant, and you have like normal income sources. You can't have unusual income sources. Like you can't be earning income from your chinchilla farm in Guatemala. Okay, you have to have like normal, like I got a paycheck. There's more, like if you go on the actual IRS website and you read all of there's a lot there. We're just going to say no unusual income sources. So you can have like wages and tips, pretty much is where you are. And your bank interest and dividends have to be $1,500 or less. If they're more than $1,500, you cannot use this form. Yeah.
So like add it all together?
Yeah. The reason being is because this particular form, the 1040 Easy, you are not allowed to have any attachments. So all those other supplemental forms can't go on this. And if you have bank interest or dividends of over $1,500, you have to fill out a form, another form.
So that would be like 1040A?
You could use the 1040A or the 1040 for that, yeah. But you would not be able to use this one. That's the only reason. You can't have any attachments to this. That's why you can't have any of these unusual circumstances or anything like that, is because with the 1040 Easy, it's one piece of paper, done. Which is the other reason I said, for as long as you can, use that one. That's the easiest one. Elizabeth Allison is a food editor, and she received a W-2 form from her employer, Food for Thought. And she got a 1099 form from her bank for the interest. So remember I said 1099s will give you non-employment income, and so this is her bank interest. Her wages are here. Her taxes here. So you absolutely have to fill out your first and last name. You absolutely have to fill out your social security number. Your spouse is optional, but on if your job ended on December 31st, it would only count for December. If you went into January, you would have to file the following year as well.
Damn.
Yeah, even if it was only one day.
My dad's doing. He has to work like 2 weeks, like 1 week in December and next week.
He's going to have to claim it on 2 different tax returns. Okay, now this presidential election campaign thing. Okay, you check if you would like $3 to go to this fund out of your taxes. This is the fund where the president is allowed to buy commercials and stuff for his campaign when he reruns for re-election.
Cool.
Leave it blank if you don't want money to go there. That's okay. All right, now you have to fill out number 1, which is your wages, salaries, and tips. You do not necessarily have to fill out number 2 because maybe you don't have any interest. Right? Maybe you didn't earn any interest on your savings account. Maybe you don't have a savings account. Okay, so number 2 is not required. Number 3 is if you went on unemployment or if you got an Alaska Permanent Fund dividends. How many of you guys have Alaska Permanent Fund? Yeah, see, not very likely. Okay, you add everything up and you have to fill out line 4. Okay, then you have to answer this. If someone can claim you for you and your spouse, check the boxes. So you only check but you have to make sure you check it. If somebody else claims you, for example, if your parents are claiming you on their taxes, you better check this box.
So you check you with your parents.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if you and your spouse live with your parents could potentially be claiming both of them, both of you. So you check both of you kind of thing. Well, yeah, no. Okay. Now, if no one can claim you, all right, you enter either this or you enter this. So if nobody can claim me, I either enter 9750 or I enter 19,500. Okay. And we're going to go over that. So 5 will have something on there and 6 will have something on there. 7 will have something on here. This is the taxes you've already paid. 8 might. You have to qualify for earned income tax credit. Not everybody qualifies for it. There's another form, and we'll look at that in a minute. Non-taxable combat pay election. Anybody got one of them? No? Okay. If you had that, you'd fill it out right here on 8B, and then you'd add lines 7 and 8A, and you fill out 9. So 9 is required. 8 is not, because that's a depends kind of thing. And then number 10, you go in the tax table and find out how much tax you owe based on line 6. You have to refer back to line 6. And then you fill out 11 or 12. So it's going to be this or that, but not both of them. Okay. All right. Finally, you must sign and date and list your occupation and your daytime phone number. If somebody else filled out your taxes for you, they fill out this part. Or no, sorry, that's this part. I'm pointing to the wrong thing. The paid preparer use. And third party designee is if there's somebody that you want to say for them to talk to you, or like, let's say you have an attorney. You don't want to talk to the IRS. You'd put your attorney here and they would talk to the IRS for you, kind of thing. Okay. Any questions on just that part so far? Okay, so let's go back to Elizabeth Allison. Okay. So Elizabeth Allison, so we're going to put her name on our form. Elizabeth Now, we didn't have her middle initial, so we're just going to leave that blank. She doesn't have one. Okay, her social security number. She was the very first person ever born. Her address is 123 Her Street in Her City, USA. And her zip code. She was the very first person, that ever had a house. I'm just being silly. Elizabeth is not interested in supporting the president this year, so she's not going to check that off.
So is that like a lot of old people who check that off?
No, it's people that really believe if the current president on the year that you're filing your taxes is somebody that you really believe in and they're going to be up for re-election and you want them to get reelected and you want to support their campaign, you just check it off and give them $3. Yeah. Whoever is running under the incumbent party ticket. So let's say it was Obama, this is his last term, the money would go to the next Democrat that's going to try to run, which maybe usually is the vice president. I kind of doubt that this time, but you never know. Okay, so her income is here in the yellow, the wages, salary, and tips, so $83,600. So she fell under that $100,000 mark. Now taxable interest, that's where she gets off the 1099. So that's this green here, so 956. That goes on line 2. Okay, Elizabeth made $83,000 this year, so I think it's fair to assume she was not unemployed. We're almost out of time. Okay, we'll rush through it. So we add 83,956, and we get 83,956. Okay, she is single.
Wait, 83,600 plus 956.
Oh wait, I typed in 83,000. Thank you. 84.5. Darn it. Just so you know, you can't do this on a real form. It has to be in the box. But I only have so many forms and we're rushing. 884556. Subtract the 9750 because that is her personal. You get what's called a standard claim or a standard deduction. That's the standard deduction. So this is how much she can be taxed on. And we're going to stop there for right now and we'll finish this tomorrow.